Good evening, historians. When selecting the entrepreneurs featured in these vignettes, if I can, I like to focus on those who represent my home state of Georgia. As with Asa Candler, the driving force behind the Coca-Cola Corporation, my entrepreneur of choice for the post-war American discussion, began his entrepreneurial journey in Georgia. When it comes to a discussion of post-war American entrepreneurship, no one embodies the post-war American ideals of hard work, patriotism, and ethical values quite like S. Truett Cathy, the founder of Chick-fil-A. Cathy opened his first restaurant, the Dwarf Grill, a diminutive little establishment, hence the name, in 1946 in Hateville, Georgia. Not only was he an entrepreneur, but he was also an inventor. You may be familiar with the Chick-fil-A advertisement slogan, "We didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich." Mr. Cathy did indeed invent the chicken sandwich. In fact, before he opened his first Chick-fil-A branded location in 1967, the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich was licensed and sold in over 50 different restaurants, including the Waffle House, another Georgia creation. Since then, Chick-fil-A has opened over 3,000 restaurants in 49 states, excluding Alaska, also in Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico, and Canada, and named as the #1 fast food chain in America for 8 years running. It is now worth over $5 billion. In light of this spectacular success, what is most interesting about Chick-fil-A is their strict adherence to family and principles. In operation for over 70 years, they remain a family-owned and operated business, headed by only 3 chief executive officers in that time: S. Truett Cathy himself, his son, Dan Cathy, and his grandson, Andrew Cathy. One notable principle they have stuck to throughout the company's existence is based on their Christian faith. In fact, a lot of their principles that they stick to is based on their Christian faith. But one of those, one that everyone is very much familiar with, is that they close on Sundays. They have also come under fire for their stance on social issues, warranting many to protest outside of their stores. One particular story that shows the principles by which they stand and how they instill those principles in their employees occurred during the protest in 2012. It was a hot summer day, and the protesters were outside in the heat. The staff of several Chick-fil-A restaurants served cold water to the protesters, free of charge. In addition to the standard fast food chain stores, there are also a handful of specialty restaurants, all 14 of which are in Georgia. These restaurants include Dwarf House restaurants, Truett's Grill, which is fashioned in the style of a 50s diner, and Truett's Luau, a Hawaiian-inspired restaurant. All of the specialty restaurants offer sit-down service and a special menu in addition to the standard Chick-fil-A fare. When I lived in Georgia, former CEO Dan Cathy and I went to church together. I have 2 stories about him that tell a lot about the kind of person he is. Once, I was eating with my family at the Dwarf House restaurant in Fayetteville, Georgia. We had just finished our sit-down meal and were engaged in a little post-meal conversation, when this middle-aged Chick-fil-A employee dressed in the standard Chick-fil-A uniform, apron and all, walking around the dining area sweeping and bussing tables. He stopped by our table to ask about the quality of our meal and even made silly faces at my young kids, making them laugh. This gentleman was none other than Dan Cathy, CEO of Chick-fil-A. Another similar story about Dan is a tale that he relives every Sunday morning at church. Without fail, every Sunday morning, he brings in the waffle irons from the local Chick-fil-A restaurant to make waffles for the youth group at the church, free of charge. So often, Dan, the Cathys, and Chick-fil-A are depicted as vessels of hate, Nothing from the character of those in charge to the outstanding service provided at each and every franchise bearing the Chick-fil-A name would lead me to believe that this is even remotely true. To Chick-fil-A, service is their pleasure. Thank you.